So the Criminal Law Act 1967 really is the only real sort of proper key to this that you can sort of fit in with the modern Crown Prosecution Service as we know it, which was only formed in 1985, and the Tumultious Act was abolished in 1986, so they won't really know about it, but they should know its existence. We don't find anything to do with things like indemnity or privilege even, or immunity or anything like that through the criminal procedure rules at all, or Magistrates' Courts Acts. But this Criminal Law Act 1967 is key because the Crown Prosecution Service do have assisting offenders. They call it assisting offenders, and that is their version of indemnity, but they don't get it from when they were created and invented in 1985. They've actually got it from the Criminal Law Act, not from any of the Criminal Procedure Rules or Magistrates' Court Act. It's from the Criminal Law Act, which that is the act that I have used in pursuing the fact that my petition was an investigation into corrupt practices and so forth, is how I have got my complaint in properly to the Judicial Conduct Office, because the judge admitted that I was doing an investigation and therefore and I was petitioning the government, and he did obstruct me therefore. So ironically, that section that I used, I kind of didn't realise at the time that is the name of that section. If anyone gets in your way when you're pursuing crime, it's actually called assisting offenders. And that's the only place that the CPS can really get their assisting offenders from, even though they weren't formed until 1985. They definitely got it from the Criminal Procedure Rules or Magistrates' Court Act or Civil Procedure Rules or any of these other acts, modern acts. It's actually, they've got it from the Criminal Law Act 1967, which is how I was able to pursue criminals and say that the magistrate has obstructed me. Now, ironically, this Criminal Law Act, which is 1967, way before the CPS were formed, 1967 is when we're getting these, around the time we're getting these election petition rules, 1960, which is special procedure, and we've got these Corrupt Practices Act, which that's a lot older, that's like 1800s, but it's still in use, in effect, because that set up a very, very proper principle for pursuing corrupt practices within governments, because that's around the time when Sir Robert Peel invented the police force. I now believe that Sir Robert Peel is responsible for Parliament burning down. He's known for forming the police force, the old Bill, but he was responsible for events within Parliament which led to them putting all these wooden things underneath, which ended up burned it down. And all the petitions, the Commons petitions, got destroyed. All of the archives, all of the documents, a lot of... It's amazing we've got any documents from Parliament left, really. It's amazing we've got any documents left at all. All the Privy Council ones. And I don't. If both houses of Parliament burned down, I don't know how we lost all the Privy Council petitions on the House of Lords ones. Well, the Court of Session ones would have been in there, I don't think. But so I think the invention of the police force. Before the police force, they had these thief takers who were like privately hired people. There was a lot of corruption going on, but I think that's just because, a big city in London, I think London's evidence that, I don't think the rest of the country needed all these Bow Street runners and as many of these thief takeaway people. It would have been a lot more mellow in the countryside. London really is an example of a bad idea for crime, because then you've got, when they invented the Met Police, crime's on the rise, they were actually complaining about crime going up and up and up, but they're happy building and building and building, they can't stop. And what's actually happening is now all of England It's turning into one big London, and crime's carrying on going up through the roof. They've not learned anything from London at all, from the 1850s till now. And they just can't stop. There's something wrong with Rishi Sunak's innovation, technology, economy, leading in everything. These people are condemning us for, speeding on highways or going too fast, slow down. But they are the makers of their own demise, because they can't do it. They're trying to get us to do something that they can't stop doing themselves, But anyway, so this Criminal Law Act, this is great, because this Criminal Law Act, if you look at this is brilliant. The Criminal Law Act is the act that cites the Tumultious Act 1661 in it, and some amendments. In Section 1, the words from at the court to quarter sessions. Although we don't even have the quarter sessions now, but it's acknowledging the Tumultuous Act. But why acknowledge it and why use it? Well, you're using it if you're petitioning either Houses of Parliament with a case, and that case might require some investigation work, and then you'll be using assisting offenders, because if anyone got in your way and obstructed you in a case, then they're committing an offence, and then that fits perfectly with these thief takers, and the Bow Street Runners and these private hiring private police to chase criminal, get apprehend criminals. People were hiring their own police privately. So you've got a right to take up the law. Any person. So this is really it now. Now, if the CPS are using assisting offenders based on the Criminal Law Act 1967, that's how they base theirs. Why have it? This is actually, I think this is the only act that cites the Tumultuous Act in connection with anything that the CPS are using or doing. So they've got to acknowledge it. And then you've got you've got all that. So under assisting offenders, you get a certificate of indemnity, don't you? But they're unlikely to get you in from the Attorney General. If you're investigating corrupt practices, maybe the CPS should be assisting corrupt practices, unless it's a CPS and the police who are engaging in corrupt practices, or Parliament. The problem is now that I've realised that what's actually happening is that I'm complaining about the fact that it's not only they're bringing cases against people who are petitioning Parliament without a special procedure, and the problem is that the House of Commons are at fault, and the number of websites like 38 Degrees, because they're like taking petitions down and all kinds of things going on. We're not getting any enforcement. So that's actually, you complain against your own petition not being run properly, but not because you've broken the law, the police are coming in, but because the organisers aren't running it properly. Parliament, the House of Commons, this is the thing. And now I realised that, Judicial Conduct Investigation Office are supposed to have representations with the House of Commons through the Constitutional Reform Act. So now, what we need to do now is I'll just look down this list. We'll see what acts they've got here now. Look. Let's have a look at some of these then. Look at these. The Statute of Westminster first. The Great Charter. Is that the Great Charter of the Forest? Article 14, the Statute of Northampton, exemption for the prelates in criminal... Whoa, the whole chapter. Exemption for prelates in criminal cases. Treason Act, 1351. The Admiralty Jurisdiction Act, Right, oh, we've got the Riot Act, 1411 and 1411. The Jurisdiction in Liberties Act, 1535. Offences at Sea Act. Some of these are going to be a brilliant... What's this Jurisdiction in the Liberties Act? I don't even know what that's going to be about, but it sounds interesting and amazing. The Treason Act, 1543. The Sacrament Act, 1547. You got to be kidding me. The Justice of the Peace Act, 1547. Well, I know that one. But they also didn't have one for 12 or 1300 as well. The Act of Uniformity. The Treason Act, 1553. Treason Act, 1554. I think how come Sir Robert Peel didn't get suspected or prosecuted for the Parliament burning down? The Act of Supremacy, I've heard of that. The Act of Uniformity. The Act against the bringing and inputting in execution of pulls and other instruments from the See of Rome. Sale of Horses Act. The Tumultious Petitioning Act. Treason Act 1708. Piracy Acts, 2 of them. Prison Escape Act. Piracy Act. The Treason Act. The Murder Act. The Shipping Offences Act. Offences at Sea. Offences at Sea. Sale of officers, pillory, abolition, murders abroad. Murders abroad? Why's he got an act of murders abroad if it's not in English law? The Fees for Pardons Act. The Criminal Liable Act. The Sex Offences at Sea Act. The whole act so far as unrepealed. Cynic Ports Rescue Act. Juries Act 1825. Admiralty Offences. Central Criminal Court Act. They've got an act for the Old Bailey. Criminal Justice Administration, the Malicious Damage Act. See, that's before the Malicious Damage Act. The Offences Against the Person Act. Some of these might have something to do with exemptions in them as well for petitioning or something or other. The Prevention of Crimes Act 1871, Coroners Act, Markets and Fairs, the Official Secrets Act, the Trustee Act, Firearms Act, the Administration of Justice, Treachery, the Criminal Justice Act, the Justices of the Peace Act 1361. Well, that's the one that even gives someone any powers to go around and do anything. Court Sessions Act 1842. That might have something in it. Criminal Justice Administration, the Lancery Act, Debtors Act, the False Personation Act, Public Bodies Corrupt Practices Act. That's the Prevention of Corruption Act. You see, they're brilliant because they explain a hell of a lot of things that are important. So some of these I'm going to write down, and some of these are going to be very, very probably important. The Perjury Act, Official Secrets Act 1911, Forgery Act, Lancery Criminal Justice Act 1925, Infant Life Preservation, Administration of Justice, Representation of the People Act 1949. I know that one. The Criminal Justice Administration, Sexual Offences, Road Traffic Act 1960. You see, this is when we had these special reasons in the Road Traffic Acts as well. Suicide Act, Criminal Justice Administration Act, the Administration of Justice, Act of Uniformity, Habeas Corpus, Piracy Riot Act, Dockyards, Protection, Incitement to Mutiny, the Unlawful Oaths Act, Counties and Cities Act, Treason Act, there's so many of these, the Criminal Jurisdiction Act 1882, the Unlawful Oaths Act, Prisoner of War Act, the Judgment of Death Act 1823, Criminal Law Act 1827, Criminal Law Act 1827 and 26, the Civil Rights of Convicts, Army Pensions, Previous Conviction Act, Trials of Felony, another Central Criminal Court Act, Punishment of Offences. Look at all these. The Metropolitan Police Courts Act, Prevention of Offences, Criminal Procedure Act, the Accessories and Abettors, Malicious Damage, Forgery, Offences Against the Person. That's got to have something, the words, and of being murder, manslaughter. I wonder if these have got something for the misappropriation by servants, Criminal Procedure Forfeiture Juries Act, Pawnbrokers, Slave Trade Prevention of Crimes Amendment, Explosive Substances Sheriff's Act, Coroners, Sale of Goods, Merchant Shipping, Cremation, Perjury, Official Secrets again, Forgery, Criminal Justice, Bankruptcy, the Indictments Act, Trustee Act, Bankruptcy, the Coinage, Treason, Criminal Justice Act, Representation of the People Act, the Common Informers Act. The Common Informers Act. Costs in criminal cases, Magistrates Court 1952, Sexual Offenders. The Geneva Convention, Mental Health Road Traffic Act 1960. It's got special reasons in there. Statute of Westminster. What the hell? Appointment of bishops. Suffrage and bishops. What the? Brawling Act. 10 years. Sedition, blasphemy. The succession, profane oaths. Profane oaths. Unlawful societies. Some corkers here. Some of these have got to have some seditious meetings. Bloody hell, that is a corker of a list. There's got to be some of those have got to have some thing that is, well, it's got the Tumultious Act listed in here, so it's acknowledging it. So that, why would the Tumultuous Act be listed in this act? Because you might be using it. When might you be using it? If you're petitioning the king or either of houses of parliament, what might you be doing? Bringing a case. What type of case might it be? Someone might have done something wrong, like, corrupt practices that you are investigating. And is it an offence for someone to obstruct you or get in your way? So what are the CPS doing? Why are they prosecuting me? Why Parliament, failing to give enforcement support of any procedures, and why do I have to collect 200,000 signatures for them to accept that they've, I've got to get, until, I get 100,000 signatures, they're not going to entertain the idea that they might be doing something wrong. In fact, the very committee that I'm petitioning to is one of the corrupt parties who is conducting corruptly, because they keep rejecting my petitions unlawfully and will not help me when I'm sharing them online, not giving me any support, and,